So my idea for my final major project is to make a series of 3 podcasts which will be continuing on from the previous podcast I did in the unit, and the aim is to bring awareness to the additional needs community and to educate people on the effects of discrimination. So each of my 3 podcasts will hopefully be around 10 minutes long. They will all be discussing slightly different topics, but staying within the main focus of disability rights and raising awareness for the disabled community. In one podcast, I will bring in either my mum or my dad, depending on who is available on the day and who is having to look after everybody at home. And it will be a discussion-based podcast discussing what it was like for me growing up in shared lives, what it's taught me, what I like about it, what I'd maybe like to change about it, the relationships I have built through shared lives, and they will be asking me questions based around growing up in shared lives. Shared Lives is an organisation which removes adults with additional needs from the larger, kind of more institutionalised care settings, which tend to not provide very one-on-one person-centred care, and it places them into a family environment, a family home, where they will receive more personalised care and build stronger relationships with their carer and just feel more comfortable and live a more fulfilled lifestyle. The individual will go to their house for a couple weeks as like a little induction to decide whether they're comfortable, and for the carers to also decide whether they're comfortable taking on this individual, to kind of make sure that they're happy to be living here full time. And me and my family have been doing this since I was 5 years old. We have 3 adults who live with us full time and 1 who lives with us 5 days a week. For my second podcast, I will be interviewing our Shared Lives coordinator, who comes to our house and makes sure everything is running properly, makes sure everyone's happy, and goes through all the legalities with my parents. And I will be asking her perspective of the care community and shared lives, and how she thinks shared lives is better, or maybe needs improving in comparison to other care settings. And through living in and working in shared lives for so long, I experience firsthand the effects of discrimination, people not viewing these individuals in the same way that they view those without disabilities. I see the effects that it has on them. And that leads me to my last podcast, which I would like to do on the effects of discrimination, how far it has come since, say 100 years ago, but how it's improved from then, and how far it still needs to go to be better, because there are still a lot of improvements that need to be made. And my aim for this is to just kind of educate people into the reality of what it's like living with a disability and how we can make it easier for them, because it's already hard enough. To speak up on behalf of my family, I see that entire community as my family, and it's just something I need to do for me, to do right by them, and because I feel like nobody really speaks about it that much, it's always something that I'm speaking about to myself. So to put it out into a podcast, I think would relieve me of a lot of the thoughts and kind of the anger that this community is forgotten about a lot of the time. I think it would release some of that and produce, hopefully, a good podcast or 3. I also feel like this topic would be good for me to talk on, because having grown up in it, I'm quite knowledgeable, and I'm hoping that reflects in my podcast in order to create an educational, informative series of podcasts. I decided to do a podcast over maybe a magazine or a news report because it's the thing that I enjoyed the most, and it allows me to express my thoughts and my passions as well as demonstrate my skill set. I felt most confident in the making of my podcast versus the making of the other units. And I enjoyed the editing process. In my FMP, I aim to improve on my writing side of things compared to in my podcast unit. But I feel like podcasts in general will help me to demonstrate my skill set that I have acquired over the last year. For example, editing, planning, and my interviewing techniques. So the secondary research I conducted was for the BBC podcast called Inside Health, which I managed to get a bit more information on. However, I may get a bit of an inaccurate representation of the listener profile from this, as the Inside Health podcast speaks on a variety of different health needs rather than specifically disabilities, which is what my podcast will be primarily focused on. But I found that the majority of listeners fall into the middle class bracket and are middle-aged, but the age skews towards an older audience, with the average listener age 56, and 49% of the listeners are male and 51% are female, which suggests, it's kind of balanced. And their target audience is of the ABC1 demographic, mainly replenishers, and this makes up 24% of their audience. So to try and get more of an accurate representation of what my listener profile might look like, I conducted some primary research. I conducted a SurveyMonkey on Snapchat, and I found that out of the 30 people who put in a submission, only 2 people listen to health podcasts, which is around 6%. And the ones who do listen to health podcasts listen to podcasts oriented around mental health and well-being, which kind of suggests, not many people listen to podcasts surrounding disabilities and disability awareness. I also found that 10 out of these 30 people listen to entertainment podcasts, because I was interested to see whether that gets a wider audience than health podcasts, which it is widely more popular. People like to listen to music podcasts and podcasts such as The Girl's Bathroom. I also did some Vox Pops, but I found that the SurveyMonkey was more helpful because I got 30 submissions, which makes me more able to kind of find a mean of the age and the demographics and the psychographics and all the information like that. Whereas Vox Pops, I only conducted a few of, so it's harder for me to conduct my findings. From my Vox Pops, I found that not many people tend to listen to health podcasts, which is similar to the SurveyMonkey. And those who do, again, focus on mental health podcasts and sleep meditation podcasts. The average age of people that answered both my Vox Pops and my SurveyMonkey was 17, as this is, the age group of people in my class and on my Snapchat, which is where I conducted the SurveyMonkey. So I think that if I were to ask a different age group, I likely would have got different answers, which suggests that maybe the older generations would be more interested in listening to my podcasts. So from my research, both primary and secondary, I can assume that the main listener profile for my podcasts will be the reformer psychographic, as these are the people who tend to achieve personal growth, and I think they are most likely to listen to a health podcast. I think they'll probably be mostly middle-aged, from what I found on the BBC website, from my primary research, that not many people my age listen to health podcasts. I think they'll be of the ABC1 demographic. Their interests will be disability rights, social justice and intersectionality, and just the unity of people, of the human race. I have spoken a little bit about my inspiration for wanting to talk about shared lives and disability discrimination in my final major project. And I think the main points for my inspiration are because shared lives has taught me so much. So I didn't really have a second thought when I had the idea of using this topic. And I feel like it's something that comes very naturally to me, and hopefully that will reflect in my work. And as well as that, I found that my last podcast was something that I was very proud of, and I thought it went very well. And my parents were proud of it, my family was proud of it, and that pride is something that I wish to achieve again. And I'm gonna try my hardest to produce something that I'm equally proud of. Another thing what inspired me to talk about this is because my childhood was very unique, and it was wonderful. I loved sharing my life with these people every day, and I love having them in my home, or our home. There's never a dull moment. It's a house full of love, it's a house full of laughter, and I just feel like I want more people to know about Shared Lives, because it is an organisation which truly offers so much to these people and to the families who care for them as well. The amount of memories I have, the amount of fun that I have had with these people, and the pride, like the reward that you get back from living with these people is amazing. Like, we supported another adult who we got to a stable enough place where he was able to move out, and he is now engaged with 2 beautiful children. And I just, it's a wonderful thing to witness, and it's a wonderful thing to grow up in, and that is something that I really wish other people to experience. But also I want to talk on the effects of discrimination as well, because I mean, not just discrimination, ill treatment in general, because I see the effects that has on my family, and it is truly damaging. And I wish to that's something I wish to speak up on, and I think that with a bit of education, people will be kinder and people will be more compassionate. As you can probably tell from how much I'm talking, I don't think I could feel any more passionate about this topic. I have updated my production schedule, so that I can see what I've done, and what I need to do in the future. It's a lot more orderly compared to my last production schedule. It's got a lot more on there, it's a lot more in depth, and I have broken everything down more than what I did in my last production schedule, so that I can make my work seem less overwhelming, and more manageable, and I can really manage my time to make sure that I get to my deadline on time, or maybe even before. So far I have conducted quite a bit of research. I've done research towards job roles, which includes the show host, outreach manager, and ringleader, or the project manager. I've also looked into the history of disability treatment and how it used to be versus how it is now, and how much it needs to improve in order to get to where it needs to be. I have also researched the target audience and listener profile from other podcasts. I also wish to conduct more research as I move on throughout my project, so that I can add to my bibliography and build my understanding of the subject and of podcasts in general, so that I can hopefully produce a stronger piece of work. And so far I have found my research has helped me to gain an understanding of my topic and the history of discrimination, and it has made me feel more emotive about the topic, because there are quite a lot of shocking facts and figures that I have found on the internet that have made me feel more inspired and made me want to put more into my work. Throughout my half term, I will continue adding to my research, as well as my journal, through mind maps and writing. I will also begin the planning process, like writing the scripts and questions for my podcasts. And then when I come back after half term, I will make sure my plans are finalised and as I wish, before filming, editing and evaluating my work.